everyone, I'm Allie with PotomacBeads. Join me in making this tubular sorbet bracelet. We're going to be working with peyote stitch, and you can work with a variety of beads. If you need any beads, remember to click the links below to shop with us online. So this design by Anna is a very simple technique of just creating beads or beaded beads out of strips of peyote, sewing them together to get this nice tubular shapes. You can go in then and put bead caps on. You can make them be independent beads and do them as earrings, or in her sorbet bracelet here, Anna mixed them all together, and we're going to be showing you how to do a bracelet with some wax linen cording, including making a tube for the toggle loop to go inside of a loop of your cording. So to start out, I have a variety of colors of Delicas. We're sticking to Delicas for this because it makes it very, very easy to go in and see the actual peyote pattern. Also, if you do subscribe to our bead box and our subscription box, you often have a lot of extra Delicas and in small quantities that this would be perfect for. I have started with some .006 wildfire beading thread, a size 12 needle, and about 3 feet of thread. I put on a stop bead, which will come off, as well as 16 seed beads. That number can change depending on how long you want your tube to be. I have on 16 beads, and I just made sure that I added them in groups of at least 2, even amounts because we're doing even peyote. So I did 2 of my glazed copper there, 2 of my mauve, 2 of my cactus color, 4 then of the frosted opaque glazed yellow, and then 2 more of that mauve luster. Coming back through, after you have those 16 beads on, I want you to pick up 1 more bead of the color that you're going to be sewing into. So I picked up 1 more of my mauve, and I will be sewing into the mauve. What that's going to do is have those 2 mauve beads sit right on top of one another. The next bead I'm going to be sewing into is that glazed berry, that Duracoat matte berry. Add 1 berry, skip over the first berry, and sew through the second bead. So whatever color you're sewing into, that's the color that you're adding on here. Now you can do tons and tons of different patterns, keep that in mind. So if you look for some peyote patterns, there are all different ones you can do, or you can do single color as well. Picking up 1 of my yellows, I skip the yellow and then sew into the next yellow. Because I have 2 yellows in a row, 4 beads, pick up another yellow and sew through the 4th yellow from the first line. So it's just doing simple peyote stitch right now. Pick up another, I'm going green because I'm sewing into the green. Pick up a purple, skip over the first purple, sew into the second, and then again another purple, sewing into that 4th purple. My matte berry color, that rusted brown color, is the last one. I'm picking up 1, and I'm sewing back through the bead and stopping right at the stop bead, making sure that you're not sewing through that stop bead. As you come back now, you easily see that that peyote is established. You're going to add now 1 more color of your rust bead and sew through the rust bead. Add a purple, sew through the purple. So we're just doing lines of our peyote stitch. Adding a purple, sewing through a purple. Adding the green, sewing through, and so forth. As you come across, you're just making this strip of peyote, which eventually will roll over, just kind of like a tortilla basically, and we're going to line up the 2 ends. When we line up the 2 ends, we're going to seam that peyote tube together, and that tube, the diameter of the tube is going to be determined by the length of the peyote piece that you did. How many beads around here on the exterior, or how many rows you build up, is going to determine again how wide it is. So if you want to, you can do them all different sizes, or in this sorbet example, we are making them all to the exact same length. Once you have a total number of rows on the exterior edge that you're looking at, you can roll it over to see how big you want your tube to be. I have, when you count the beads on the exterior, I have 6 beads on each exterior side. One thing that you want to do is you want to make sure when you are finishing that the top and the bottom are opposite. You want to make sure that when you're looking at your two color lines here, that you have row number 1 at the end here, ending at the top, row number 2 at the bottom, and vice versa. What that's going to allow you to do is roll this together and seam it together perfectly. So I'm coming out of the bottom of my purple roll here, and I am 1 short. I'm going to sew up to the purple at the top. Then I'm going to go over to the opposite side. On the opposite side, we're going back over and I'm sewing through the purple. You want to think about this almost like a zipper, that it is going to close up and form a seamless line. You're going to sew into the orange on the right, that berry, and I'm going to sew into that berry on the left. So it's looking almost like little Legos or bricks, that they form a nice tube and sit together perfectly. I'm not pulling it super tight so that way you can see the thread, but when I do pull tightly, it literally seams them up so you cannot see any sort of starting side or stopping side. You're going to continue sewing up the entire area here, not adding any extra beads. And then depending on what you're going to do with your tubes, in my case, the ends will be exposed. So I'm going to tie my thread end that I have here onto the starter thread, and then take the needle and thread to a different position along the tube in order to burn down the end of my thread and tie it off basically among the peyote stitch. As I take the needle and thread through here, and I'm going just again right, left, alternating sides and zigzagging my thread there, I'm going to come out my last of my berry bead on the left hand side. I'm going to take my stop bead and move it out of the way. I'm going to sew down through the berry bead, starting at the stop bead and down through the berry bead, going from that left side to the right side in the opposite direction. Sew up through that next end bead. So my thread ends are now ending right next to one another. And because you don't really see it, I'm going to simply tie these two thread ends together. I'll keep the thread then with the stop bead, with that starter bead, and I will burn that thread down. What I'm going to do with the thread that's attached to my needle is I'm going to try to pull that knot in a tiny bit to the next delica. So I'm going to go in here, sew down through that delica, and then pull the knot inside the bead so you don't see it. Take that needle and thread that's still attached, sew down a couple more beads, grab your thread burner or your thread zap, and burn down that thread edge. Go back up now to that starter thread, burn that one down as well. This technique and this method will keep you from seeing a lot of thread on the exterior of your design. Now what you're going to do is gather up all your little tubes, and I'm going to show you how we're going to string this on something as simple as the wax linen cord to create this beautiful sorbet bracelet. So to assemble the bracelet, I have a variety of all of my different tubes. I've also had a larger tube made. So these are all the 16 long. This one here is going to be 22 long. We're going to use this for our toggle bar section. And what I'm going to do to begin actually is I have some wax linen cording. You can use whatever cord you want, or you can, like I said, line these right up on a necklace and really have fun creating. With this longer piece, that's no different in the actual diameter, I'm going to take my first piece of waxed cording, and this is going to be about 20 inches long, and I'm going to take it through the end of that one piece. Go ahead and pinch that wax linen cording there to the middle, and simply tie an overhand knot so that you have your cord coming out with these same exact amounts on either side. Once you have that, that is going to be our toggle bar. From here, then what we're going to do is grab two other pieces of waxed cord, and we are going to tie them around the other piece. So two more 20-inch pieces, and we are going to tie it around those two middle cords. There's one. And here's two. If you want to, you could also use a button for your clasp. You don't have to use the toggle bar, but it's kind of fun to use bars the whole way. So go in then after you have those two tied and just press them up right against that toggle bar knot. Now we're going to work with them in groups of two. So I have two to the one right side, two down the middle, and two to the left side. I'm going to grab the toggle bars at random and take two pieces of thread, go through the center of my loop there, and then I'm just going to do a simple overhand knot, tying those two threads together, leaving a little bit of space for that bar to hang out, and continue on grabbing at random, going through, having them there, tying this knot. And I'm going to do this with every single one. So this here is one that I'm doing, continuing to add on, and I am picking, because there are a variety of colors, I am picking just kind of at random, but a designed randomness, we'll call it, that I know, like, oh, I haven't done a bright bead yet, let me do a bright bead on here. Drop those down, tie it off. There you have. So I have 4 tubes on so far. I'm going to put a 5th tube on, do the other 2 rows as well, just like we did the first one, where we have 1 tube go over 2 and 1 tube go over the other sets of 2. Tie along till you have about 5 tubes on each one of your strands. After you have all of your tubes onto your bracelet here, what you're going to do is take all 6 cords that are coming down at the bottom, and you are going to tie them into an overhand knot, pulling them all through there. And then if you need to, kind of separating them out, pulling them 2 at a time to make them tighter, or even 1 at a time. So that way you have that nice tight pull. Now you may have some strands that are smaller or shorter than other strands. You can, if you want to, kind of get rid of those at this point. I'm going to maintain and keep 2 strands. These 2 strands are going to be the loop. So these strands here I'll just kind of get rid of. And the wax linen cording is really forgiving for this. You just kind of bend them back and push them against it. I'm going to separate out 2 strands to one side, 2 strands to the other. Figure out how big my loop needs to be to get my bar through it and not come out, basically. Right there, halfway. Take my loop off there, grab it, and do a regular overhand knot, putting those threads through. Once you have that plain overhand knot with the threads through, you're going to pull nice and tightly. And then if you want to, what you can do is at the end here, you can chop down the cord, or you can attach little beads to the ends if you have some bigger beads to go on that. But the toggle bar is just going to go right through that loop after I trim that down, and your sorbet bracelet with all those fun little tubes is going to be finished. If you want to, this is also a cool one that you can add a bunch of tassels to and have fun having things hang down from the design as well. Thanks so much for joining me in making this fun tubular sorbet bracelet. So this fun idea of the bracelet really is a building block that you can then take and add some jet fuel to and make it your own. Thanks to Anna for the fun idea of just taking up and using a bunch of the random different Delica beads and really having fun with a small amount of materials, just some Delicas and a little bit of wax cord. As always, if you need any of these materials, check out the links below to shop with us online. Also, if you have somebody that you think this would be a great idea for them, they're always talking about their little couple extra beads that they have, definitely share the video with them. You can also like and subscribe to this YouTube channel so you get regular updates from us here at PotomacBeads. Thanks so much for watching this sorbet bracelet. Thanks to Anna again for the idea, and have fun creating.